It seems at the beginning of every new year, mostly leading into the Royal Rumble for that year, WWE likes to announce the first inductee or first few big inductees into the Hall of Fame class for that year. They've never, as far as I know, they've never made any announcements before that. They've never made any announcements Hall of Fame-wise at the end of one year that's going to coincide with the following year. Well, that all changed. That all changed this morning when, thanks to ESPN, Fox Sports, PW Insider, Pro Wrestling Insider, TMZ, and more specifically, WWE itself, news broke that the first inductees, big name-wise, for the 2020 class, for the WWE's Hall of Fame class, I should say, of 2020, were revealed. Those are the Animal Batista, Dave Batista, and the one group that a lot of people felt inspired DX to be officially formed. That, of course, is the NWO, the New World Order. And the part of the faction that's going in is not just the founding members of the New World Order, but also somebody that came aboard basically about a few months later. He was the sixth member of the group. Because remember, you had Hogan, Hall, Nash, then you had Giant, then you had Ted DiBiase, and then of course you had Sean Waltman as Six-Pac. So, yeah, Hogan, Hall, Nash, and Waltman are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame class of 2020 as basically representing the NWO. Now, some might say or ask the question, why is Waltman included if he joined later on? You know, he wasn't a founding member because a lot of people were thinking we should have the founders, the ones that put the NWO on the map, the ones that created it, the ones that made it what it is, that being Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Well, you got to remember, besides DiBiase, Waltman, besides DiBiase and the Giant, who's the Big Show right now, or is the Big Show right now, I should say, besides them, Waltman was one of the first few members. And if stories are to be believed, had he not been injured and released via FedEx, there's no doubt he probably would have stayed in the company and probably become a bigger deal than, he was allowed to be. Or a bigger part, I should say. So, sorry about all that, but anyway, he was the sixth member, and if he would have stayed, he probably would have, been a core member of, the NWO, even during the little Civil War storyline that they had within the group. Probably siding with Kevin Nash, possibly, or even Scott Hall. Jeez, how many are you? Oh, sorry. Didn't mean for you guys to hear that, but like I said, basically it would have been, like I said, if he would have stayed, he probably would have been part of that Civil War faction and either sided with the Wolf Pack or sided with Team Hollywood. So he probably would have been an instrumental part in that had he remained, and if he had not been injured and not been FedExed his termination. Now, the other reason, of course, he's coming in as well is he's the only one, along with the Big Show, aka the Giant in WCW, that kind of resumed his membership in the NWO when the NWO came to WWE. Now, this, of course, was when Hogan had turned face and gone against the NWO, so they decided, okay, we need to have a third member, maybe even a fourth and fifth member to kind of make it feel like the NWO is still a threat. So they basically allowed, I guess, as a favor to National Hall, they brought X-Pac 6, Sean Waltman, if you will, into the fold. So it'd feel like, it would give it that nostalgic feel, if you will, within the group, but basically be like, kind of make it feel a little familiar for them, even being back in WWE, I should say. Sorry about that. So if you're wondering why Sean Waltman is involved, it's because he's a close friend of Hall and Nash in the Clique. He made amends possibly with Hogan, or no doubt with Hogan. And basically he's the only member besides Big Show who you would think should get into the Hall of Fame as well, but considering he's still somewhat of a semi-active competitor, more of an attraction now. Unless he announces full retirement, which I don't know if he has, I don't know if he has or not, then, it makes sense for Waltman to be included and not Big Show. So it makes sense. Now, I know some people are going to go off and say, well, if they do this, they're basically, in a very subtle way, inducting all of the NWO themselves. They're inducting even some of the members that didn't belong in there, like IRS, VK Wall Street. They're inducting, Big Bubba, Big Boss Man again. They're, inducting, Masahiro Chono and the Great Muda. They're inducting Jeff Jarrett, the Harris brothers. They're doing all that. And that is kind of true if you look at it from a very subtle way. That is kind of true that that's what's happening with the induction of these four individuals as the NWO, that every other member they had is being inducted sort of in spirit along with them. So I know some people will bring that up, but yeah, basically the NWO is finally going to get inducted along with Batista in the 2020 class of the WWE Hall of Fame. Who else will be inducted? It's hard to tell who will be inducted next. But I can tell you this: if they're inducting people now, making their announcements now, you can only imagine that this class for 2020 is going to be huge. If they're already making announcements now for who's going in. But that's really about it, guys. Let me know what you all think about the first two inductees into the Hall of Fame class for the WWE for 2020. Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I got to get back into work, and I will talk to y'all later. And I'll probably do more of a detailed talk in this later on. Peace. Oh, and check out the Lex Man at OTR Central. I'm sure they'll have something to say about it as well.